Hello everybody and welcome back to One Nerd to Rule Them All. In today's video, we're going to be looking into the history and etymology of the legendary horse-led riders of Rohan. Today we are talking about the Rohirrim. So without further ado, let's get into the video. The Rohirrim, riders of Rohan. A brave cavalry ready to defend their king and their people at any cost. But what did they look like? And where did Tolkien get his inspiration for these warriors? The Rohirrim were described as tall, blonde, and mostly blue-eyed people. The men were large, husky, and handsome, while the women were particularly beautiful. They were noble, brave, strong-willed, and fiercely independent, remaining within their own language and culture. Their horses were very important assets in their everyday lives, with their entire culture based around the breeding and trading of them. They lived mostly in villages on the plains of Rohan, where their horses grazed and had few cities. The Rohirrim were descended from the Northmen of Rhovanion and the Ethiod, who lived in the vales of the great river Anduin, but were removed to Caledadhorn, a plains land granted to them in perpetuity, in reward for the assistance that they offered Gondor at a time of great need during their war against the Wain Riders. As a result, they were lifelong allies of Gondor, bound by the Oath of Ul. At this time, Caledadhorn was renamed Rohan, or Horseland, after their many horses. By the Rohirrim themselves, Rohan is usually called the Mark. The term Riders of Rohan and Riders of the Mark are commonly used to refer to the horsemen of Rohan. The Dunedain of Gondor believed that the Rohirrim were distantly related to them, and described them as middlemen, that being inferior to the Númenóreans in both culture and descent, but superior to the men of darkness, who had worshipped and served Sauron. The Rohirrim had contacts with elves in their ancient years, and knew of Eru. But like the Dunedain, they did not worship him collectively. They seem to have highly valued the Valar Orme, the hunter, whom they called Bema. During the reign of Theoden, the largest assembled host of Rohirrim mustered at the camp of Dunharrow, became crucial in saving Gondor and Minas Tirith from utter destruction by Sauron's host, at the Battle of the Pelennor Fields in 3019 of the Third Age. Following that and the death of Theoden, many of them rode to Mordor, under Aragorn II, Elisar's lead, and fought courageously at the Battle of the Black Gate. Rohirrim is Sindarin for horse riders, and are mostly used by outsiders. The name they had for themselves was Erlingus, after their king, or the Young, who had first brought them to Rohan. Rohirrim is a collective noun, and when used grammatically as a subject or object, is usually used with the definite article. It can also be used as an adjective to modify another noun, for example, a Rohirrim village or a troop of Rohirrim cavalry. The pure adjectival form, meaning pertaining to the Rohirrim, is Rohirric. The Rohirrim seem to resemble the ancient Anglo-Saxons, a Germanic people comprising of three tribes, the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes, who invaded and conquered Britain around the 5th century. J.R.R. Tolkien was himself a distinguished professor of the Anglo-Saxon language. People of Rohan resembled the Anglo-Saxons in several ways. In appearance, they are fair-skinned and mostly blonde-haired, like the Germanic invaders. They also have cultural links to these ancient tribes. This is shown in the type of armour used by the Rohirric warriors, which includes an extensive choice of mail, both chain and scaled, and in their reverence for a sword as an expensive yet symbolically important weapon to be given a title and passed down through generations. Rohirric armies are also known to favour the shield wall, which was a strategy commonly employed by the Anglo-Saxons. Finally, common names given to the people of Rohan tend to resemble names of Old English. For example, the name Eomer is found in the Beowulf saga, an epic Tolkien built much of his career around, and means horse famous in Old English. While these traits of the Rohirrim could be passed off as typical of any agricultural northern society of Europe, such as the Vikings, taken as a whole and with the knowledge that Tolkien was an acclaimed professor of Anglo-Saxon, and indeed has set out to create a uniquely English mythology, it can be inferred the descriptions of the Rohirrim were heavily drawn from those of the ancient Anglo-Saxons. However, one aspect of the Rohirrim, their close affinity to horses as beasts of warfare and their extensive and superb use as cavalry, is not a trait that is shared with the ancient Anglo-Saxon tribes, who were predominantly foot soldiers in wartime. However, it was characteristic of the Ostrogoths, a German tribe that dominated Eastern Europe during the late Roman period, whose language was also studied by Tolkien. Tolkien's choice to represent the northern descended Rohirrim as a horse-loving people is in itself quite interesting, but is obviously part of his unique mythology. Yet it has been argued that one possible reason for the horse inclusion is the event of 1066 in England. According to Tom Shipney, a retired scholar of Middle-earth, Tolkien imagined the Rohirrim to be a horse culture because the only surviving Anglo-Saxon words for colours were all words for the colours of horses. At this point in time, the Anglo-Saxons were defeated by the invading Normans, who were able to win the battle through their superior use of cavalry. Therefore, it has been stated that this inclusion may be an idea influenced by this, that if the Anglo-Saxons had been horse lords, they could have won the Battle of Hastings, thus preserving the Anglo-Saxon culture which Tolkien enjoyed so much. Certainly, whether the Rohirrim truly are partly or wholly based on the Anglo-Saxons can be a topic of debate among Tolkien fans and its scholars. This brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoy these types of videos where I touch on the etymology surrounding Tolkien's work, then please let me know and I'll make sure to do more videos on it in the future. Anyway, that'll be it from me. Have a wonderful day or night wherever you are. Bye for now.